Hi, I'm Caitlin Joy. I'm a journalist for Traklife Media Group, and we're here with Matphilly, an EDM artist, and he's going to tell us a little bit about him and his work.
Born and raised in Los Angeles, specifically, I was born in a town on the east side called Whittier. So I grew up there, and in another town called Santa Fe Springs. So repping 562. That's my area code.
Awesome. So how did you first get into music?
That was easy. Both my parents were in bands. My dad was like in some like Bon Jovi trench coat wearing like glam rock band, and then my mom was like in this all girls like punk band. And as a matter of fact, like she played drums in the band up until she was like 9 months pregnant with me. Like my dad had to like literally pry her off the set to be like, "Yo, you're about to like give birth." So yeah, it's kind of like been in my roots. Like I've been very fortunate to have like instruments around me when I was a kid, and I was always curious to like see what like, oh, what's this keyboard do, or what do these drums, these sticks do. And then I think my parents were like, man, you're gonna break our stuff, so we might as well just like sit with you and show you how to play them softly. And a little do I know, I ended up doing it all these years later. So.
That's really cool. So seems like you had a lot of rock and roll influences growing up. How did you get into EDM, house, that area?
I remember when my parents divorced, and my parents had me like really young. They had me, my mom was like wasn't even 21 when she had me. So when they, got divorced, and she was like trying to like live her life a little bit because she had some more freedom. Obviously, like you get divorced, the parent takes the kid for a little bit, and so on and so forth. Like it's like every other situation. So obviously my mom was going out to the clubs, having fun, doing her thing. I can't hate on that. Um, and I noticed that like we would listen to like K Rock, which is like a local radio station here. And if like maybe something wasn't good on, she would put it on like Kiss FM, and that's when I would start hearing like all kinds of like dope like house music, like 100% Pure Love, Show Me Love. And then I think like the most mind blowing thing is like when I first heard Alice DJ's Better Off Alone, I was like, what is this? Um, and it was like, yeah, it was just like a mind blowing melody, mind blowing vocal, and it like sucked me in real quick. And then that further induced when I started watching MTV all the time, because then I realized there was like heavier versions of like electronic music, and that's how I got into like Rammstein, Chemical Brothers, Nine Inch Nails, The Prodigy, and then it was just like a whole new world to me. And then yeah, I kind of just opened up my eyes to like that whole little scene that was going on.
Wow. So when did you start using a mixing board?
Like a mixing board in general.
Yeah. Like when did you first pick it up?
So my senior year of high school, we had this thing called a senior project, and it was basically like the dumbest thing that was ever invented for people that are just trying to graduate. They made us do this project where you would have to create like a thesis and write like this crazy report, and then you had to go out and do field testing, which is basically like whatever you're working on, you want to work with somebody that could mentor you in that field, and then you would do like a PowerPoint presentation and all this mumbo jumbo. I lucked out a little bit because at the time I was already like touring in bands. I was like in a band, I was touring. And so, you know, we knew recording studios that we would go like do demos to, or like pre-production. And I used that, like I used those people to be like, hey, I got to do this project. Like, look, I don't need you to really mentor me. Just sign off on my stuff. But like, if it's cool, if I could just come in the studio and hang out when you record, and you could show me like some cool stuff. And back then, like Cubase was kind of like the industry standard before Pro Tools like really took over. Like Pro Tools was big, but like it still was like kind of expensive for a lot of people. So Cubase was kind of like something that people used before that. So I learned how to like work Cubase and like mess with like EQ knobs and stuff like that, and like fader boards and like presets, which is like crazy to do now because it you don't need all that. Like, but it was a good translation for me when I got into like electronic music, because once I got into like Ableton and started to like understanding like fader boards and EQing and all that, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of know like these low pass, high pass things, and that helped out a lot. So, yeah. Sadly, I only got like a C though in that class because I never really showed up. I was always touring, so I just kind of skated by just to graduate.
So you started touring when you were in high school?
Yeah, when I was like the end of like being 14, turning 15. It was like small stints. Um, my buddy's dad was like semi-retired, so because like he would go, my parents were cool with it, and like we were already like putting out records on like these little small labels. So we would do like little stints where we would do like weekend stuff, like go up to the Bay, and maybe like San Diego, Arizona, Vegas, and then eventually it was like, oh, why don't you start doing like more national things? And then next thing you know, I was like graduating high school and having dinner with like my parents and then like leaving that night to go play like the entire Vans Warped Tour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So performing must feel really natural to you now.
I mean, yeah, like mostly because I think it was like I was a vocalist too, like a screaming vocalist, not like an actual singer. But you always have to have stage presence because you're just sitting with a mic. You got to kind of like engage with the crowd. And so for me, like, for like sometimes when you like after you transition DJing, you kind of don't really know what to do. Like you pick your next song and then you kind of go into it and like you're like, what do I do? Like, but I think I got kind of used to it because I just kind of remembered like, oh, jump around and be an idiot, like have fun and like get the crowd engaged and like, you know, I kind of do that pretty often. Like people always make fun of me. My best friends love to refer to me as the "what the fuck is up Denny's" meme. Like that's like who they think when they think of me. They're like, that's like you're that guy. So I'm like, cool.
So yeah, where do you find inspiration for your music?
Um, I found a lot of inspiration in like different ways. Sometimes it's like I like going to shows and like listening to DJs and seeing how like how they pick their stuff and their song selections, and then kind of like if I hear something really dope, I'm like, whoa, what is that? And I'll really pay attention to like how the song is processed. Outside of like dance music, like I listen just to a lot of like bands, a lot of ambient music, um, instrumental stuff. Like I've been into really instrumental stuff for a long time, and I kind of use that like I kind of use like a mix of all those things, especially like going to concerts. Like anytime I go to like a hardcore show or like a metal show, like people going crazy on stage jumping and stuff gets me like inspired. Like, oh man, like I want to go home and write more music because like that's the thrill I get from seeing people like get excited when they see like their favorite band, Like it'd be cool one day to like have a no barrier like no bottle service like club party where people can like literally get up and like stage dive off like while I'm DJing sets. Like I think it's kind of corny. Like I know people would be like, oh, that's real corny, dude, but it's kind of fun too because like everybody gets to express themselves differently and like that's kind of like what hardcore is, and that's kind of what like dance music is, like what it's always been as well. Expressing yourself, like you're not supposed to like be a specific person, you're just supposed to be free and kind of do your own thing. So
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions. Is the strong community and culture surrounding house and EDM, does that influence you and your music?
Yeah, it does. A lot of my friends influence me a lot in like the different genres, whether it's like house or like techno. I have like the majority of my friends are like house dudes, like producers, but then I have like my bass producers that I hang out with and stuff, and then people that do like future bass, and they all really inspire me to like do different things. I got my buddy that does like Jersey Club, and I always kind of make fun of him. I'm like, Jersey Club, like not my thing. But then like he'll play it, and I'm like, man, yeah, this shit bump. Like I really like this. So, like, like even like when some people play like global bass or anything out of the norm, you know what I mean, that you wouldn't hear like at a festival. Like I love like just kind of like vibing to that stuff. That's why I like going to like afters and stuff because
Mm-hmm.
you can just hear like dark techno and like just really like industrial type stuff sometimes, and it's really cool. It's different than going to like a nocturnal wonderland where you're probably gonna hear Noctu's like Dash Star like 25 times while you're like at the festival. Not that I'm knocking that song because that song is great. Um, but it's nice to like sometimes hear things that are like out of the norm
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it inspires me a little bit more to like branch out on like my sound and
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Great. So how did your song "Need More Festival Horns" come to be?
Um, so risky. I think it was like right before COVID hit, or I think COVID had like just hit. Yeah, you know what? COVID had just hit. I I had to cancel my whole tour and I had nothing going on. And I was like, man. In the beginning, it was like, oh, 2 weeks, stop the spread. And we're like, yeah, sure, 2 weeks, I'll get back on the road. And obviously, that didn't happen. So I started writing and writing. And I would talk to him because he was an essential worker. So, like, he used to work security at like a Kaiser back in the day or like back during COVID. And him and I would like talk for hours, and he was just telling me, like, I really want to make a song with like a cool horn intro, and run with it. And I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, just totally do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was gonna go for like he makes a lot of Jersey Club, so I thought he was gonna go for like a Jersey Club style thing. He ended up like sending me the song, and it was just like this hard hitting like dubstep track, and I was like, yo, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, you think it's sick? And I was like, yo, that's sick. He's like, yo, you want to hop on the second part? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm like super down because it was like super. The horns were catchy,
Mm-hmm.
and so I hopped on. I wrote like my part, and in typical Matphilly fashion, everything I make is like abnormally loud. So when I sent him the first rendition, um, I had to tell him, hey, like listen to your part, but once like the next buildup comes, turn it way down because like dude, you'll probably crash. He was like driving and he calls me back and he's like, dude, why does your stuff have to be so abnormally loud? Like turn down your volume. And so that's kind of like our little inside joke like that we talk about. But he like liked what was going on and we sat on it for a while. Just because at the time I was like focusing on like writing my album and I was really kind of like dead set on like finishing the album. And obviously like during COVID I had some like tough times as well. I lost my brother, so like that was like a big impact where I wasn't like really writing any music or doing anything. I was kind of just like sitting at home playing like Persona 5 and just like not really caring about like music. And then once I got back into it, I had hit him up and I was like, hey man, like you want to like work on this, want to get together? And it was like just around the time that things were like just starting to open up again. And he's like, yeah, dude, like let's like get into the studio and like work, because we had already done it remotely. Got together and like in one studio session we knocked it out. And it's funny how like the song came together so quickly
Mm-hmm.
and just fun. It was
Yeah.
it was a it was a fun track to make. Him and I have wrote at least like 13 or 14 songs together, whether they were like bootlegs, remixes, whatever, and none of them ever panned out. One of them did for a while, but we ended up taking it off because we just wanted it. We liked the song so much that we thought like we don't want to waste it for a bootleg, and so like after like a week, we just like took the song away and like we're like, oh, we'll save this for like a track. But yeah, we wrote it, and after like 13 different renditions of trying to make music, we finally scored with one, apparently, because I see it on like TikTok all the time. It's kind of weird.
So, how does your creative process differ from working independently, other than working or collaborating with other artists?
It kind of varies, like, on who like kind of kicks it off. Sometimes people will be like, "Oh, like I have this idea, I want to share it with you. Tell me if you're interested." And I'd be like, "Okay, cool. Show me the idea. Yo, I like this. I can work with this," and then go. Or sometimes I'll hit up people. So it kind of just depends on like who you're working with, or like who has to like kind of make the initial like, all right, here's what I wrote, I guess. Like, let me know if this is cool. And for me, it's always just something that like I'll try to dig something that I think is really cool that like I worked on and I hadn't finished, and I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool like thing I can maybe send to somebody. Like, yo, you like this? Is this cool? Like, all right, cool. You want to work on it? All right, let's work on it. Which ended up making successful collabs over the years. And then there's people that would be like, yo, like I like to like work on something. I'm like, oh yeah, your shit's dope. Like I would love to work on something. Like send me something. And then they'll be like, okay, cool. They'll send me something, and I'll be like, yeah, this is tight. Like, I have an idea for it. Let me get back to you, and then we kind of just fiddle back and forth until like it's done.
It's really neat. So what's your experience working in such a competitive industry?
In the beginning, it was really hard. Um, like I get in my I used to get in my feelings a lot. I used to get like really upset. I was very vocal on Twitter. I was a very vocal person back then. But as I got older and like I started to like not give a shit, was when I realized like it made these situations and things kind of just came to be. And that I think that's like the best advice I give to a lot of people, because people be like, oh man, like I don't get shows, you know, my song does pretty well on like Spotify, but I can't get booked, and you know, this and that, so on and so forth. I'm like, dude, man, just stop caring. Like, make music, have fun with it. Like, that's the whole reason why we do this in the first place. Like, I didn't come into this industry assume, you know, like trying to be like the mega star or anything. Like, I came into the music industry in general was just because I wanted to play instruments with my friends and like have fun, you know, like maybe become like a local celebrity, you know, like nothing crazy. Not that like I'm huge or anything like that. You know, but I just wanted to just make music for myself. Like I never made it for anybody but myself. And I try to tell people that I feel like people work really hard on trying to like, what does the crowd want? Like, oh, they're going crazy for this, you know, laser song. And it's like, yeah, of course, it's a cool song, you know, like, but like, what defines you? You know, like, you don't want to just do what other people are doing. Like, you want to try to find your niche and figure out like what works best for you. So I tell people all the time, like, just make music for you. Like, what do you want to hear from an artist? Well, I want to hear this. Okay, well then make it. Like, you have the tools. Like, why aren't you doing it? Why are you waiting for X, Y, and Z artists to do it? Like, go for it. Like, take the chance. Bet on yourself. Please, you always need to bet on yourself. Um, that was something learned a little too late. I don't want to say a little too late, but I learned late. And I'm glad that I started to bet on myself a little bit more, because when I did, then like I started to see like really cool results.
Wow. All right. So, do you make your own visuals, and is that something that you're also passionate about?
Yes and no. I do work with people on ideas. Like I'm definitely not like, that's not my creative side per se, but I do have like the ideas where I can like come out and say like, oh, I want things to look like this. And a lot of like my visual stuff is I try to keep it less towards the very EDM cartoony s things that you usually see, and I wanted to make everything look like the world was like kind of like coming to a halt, and there was like something, not like a world was ending, but like I've had like emergency broadcast system things and like little crazy like hidden messages and like my visuals. And shout out to VJ Newright, who like is the VJ for like Virtual Riot. She did all my visuals. She's done all my visuals. Took care of like all those things and has done like a really great job. I'm really thankful for her, and the work that she put in for the stuff that I wanted. When I came to her with like these ideas, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I'm thinking. I want it to just be kind of dark and, cool, and let it kind of like fit like this weird vibe that I go with. And she knocked it out of the park. And like, I'm forever thankful for her for always like, making cool stuff and like taking care of everything. Obviously, she does a lot for Virtual Riot. His visuals are like insane, and you could see how much they work together and like put things in. And yeah, she's cool, and she's definitely made my ideas come to life. So,
What do you think characterizes you as an artist and your sound?
um, I think people just kind of see me as like the funny random dude. Like I'm just kind of like, oh, here comes the funny random dude that we know, like, that goes crazy on stage and like has like no sense of like care for his body. Um, which like now that I'm getting older, I'm starting to feel it in the lower back region. Especially my legs now. Like I just learned that I have my sciatica is acting up. I didn't even know what a sciatica was until like I went to go get it checked out. And so yeah, it's like all the years of just like putting that like stress on my body of like doing it. But I love doing that thing. I don't know. I'm just kind of like a dude that wants to have fun and, make the best of situations. I kind of always, every time I get on stage, I kind of play it as like if it's going to be the last show like ever, like it's my farewell like show.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to put everything into it and pretend like this is it, because you never really know when it could be the end. You don't know when like life changes, things get, things change. You start families, you get married, or you change career paths. Like things get different, in the music industry as you get older. Um, and I'm very fortunate enough to been doing this as long as I have. A lot of my friends are like married with kids, wondering like, how the hell are you still like out there doing things? I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess I'm just lucky. I'm just very thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like not a lot of people get to do this. And again, it's not like I'm making like millions of dollars or anything. Like I'm making enough just to survive, but that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I'm fed and my cats are fed, like, and I got a house, to live under and a studio in there, I'm pretty chilling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Does music fulfill you?
It does. I don't think I can live without it. Like, even if I was like to stop making music, like I could never stop going to concerts. I could never like stop listening to like records. I still buy vinyl to this day. Like I pick up vinyl records every week. I'm out either going to the record store, I'm buying a ton of records, or I'm just like splurging online. Going to concerts, hardcore shows, buying vinyl records, picking up, latest variants sometimes if I like really like a record. That's just like kind of my thing. So yeah, I don't think I can ever go away with like that. And sometimes like even like with my friends and I, we'll go back and like listen to like demos of stuff that we used to do or like records that we put out. Like, man, isn't that crazy, dude? We were just like kids, like in a van, like with no like experience, like traveling like for damn near free. And it's kind of a cool thing to think about. Like I got to do a lot of really cool things growing up and being doing it at a young age. And again, like I said, still doing it today. Like it's pretty neat.
Um, so, how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard it before?
Um, it's really pretty, but it's also like a big smack in the face. I love like melodies, like I like melodic stuff. But I also like making these weird, like annoying sounds, like ear piercing, very just like, you know, kind of just make people go like, what is that? Must Die is like the big reason why like I was like, oh man, I love these ear piercing sounds. And it made me wanted to make my own version of like these ear piercing like sounds. And yeah, just yeah, it's pretty, it's chaotic, it's just so it's a mix of who I am, you know. I think it also like kind of has like this cool focus on like how my mental health is too. Like when I think about it, like my bipolar, disorder, I have my good and my bad, and I feel like that music translates to that stuff along with like other things too. Um, it's like good character. So,
So, what's your history with Traklife?
oh man. Um, I mean, I'm not an OG, but I guess I'm like grandfathered in. I guess that's the right term. Uh, but I'm definitely the EDM OG. I'm gonna put that on the mantle for sure. Um, I started with Track Life back in 2014. Um, I started a show called The Bass Cave, and we were the first dance music, bass music show, and it was with myself and my buddy Juan, who also went by DJ Impulse. Unfortunately, before we even got to run our first episode, he had passed away, which was really unfortunate, and it was kind of a really rough time for me. And with the strength of Juan's mom and Irvin and the people that were also like, a part of Track Life, everybody kind of like had me, tell me like, man, you should still do it. Like, do it for him, like kind of, live it for his memory. And after a couple months of like mourning and stuff, I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And we did it. And I had incredible guests on the show. I had like Ghastly, I had Megalodon, I had Sweet Tooth, I've had a ton of artists that have come in to the show, and some of them like before they were even like doing what they're doing now, and some of them were doing some really great things. So it was cool, it was fun, and then it also kind of gave me a chance to like DJ because at the time like I wasn't really like getting booked, so I was like kind of bored, and I was like, well, at least I could do like live mixing at the studio and like show my skills. So I used that to my advantage, and it was kind of like my way to practice and like get my name out there a little bit, and yeah, it was cool. It's been fun and had fun with all the people that worked at Track Life, whether they're still part of it or not. But it was like it's been a fun family. We had a lot of fun times. Did a lot of cool things together. It was really cool.
What's next for you as an artist?
Well, as of on Friday, I'm actually celebrating 2 years of my debut album. I may be through with the past, but the past is not through with me. So I'm gonna take some time on Friday and just kind of enjoy having 2 years of like writing that album that's like really important to me. Um, Also, like Needs More Festival Horns is like blowing up again. It's starting to like get viral again, and we're starting to kind of see like this weird boom. I don't know what it is. It's just we just kind of like call each other like, dude, you see that reel? You see that TikTok? Like it's got like millions of views, and then we go look at like our stats, and it's just like, we're like, oh shit, okay. And apparently people like using that at the gym because I always see gym jams playlists like on my Spotify thing. So shout out to all you people in the gym, pumping up to that song. Um, but I do have a lot of music in the works. After Festival Horns was starting to do as good as it did, I wanted to dial in a little bit more into my craft. I didn't want to like kind of like just bust out and just start tossing away music because I felt like I was just gonna like it wasn't gonna work the way I wanted it to. So actually, at the moment, I'm currently getting masters back for a lot of songs that I'll be releasing in the near future. Have some songs with some artists from like some of my favorite like hardcore bands, couple cool vocalists. Yeah, like I can't even get into details because I don't want to like spoil it. Like, but I know when like I show people like, hey, dude, here's my song with like this, people are gonna be like, what? How did that happen? So I'm pretty excited about it. But I am in the process of writing another album too. I kind of got into album mode again. I have this idea. I have these like lumped up ideas of songs that I put in a folder that I made like last year that was just like album possibilities. And now I'm starting to like pull them little by little and like work on them. So hopefully maybe like by next year, hopefully I can like put out the second album. It's definitely going to be a little bit more broader. I'm going to try to like add all the elements of like styles of music that I like in dance music. I don't want to just be pigeonholed as like, oh, he's just a dubstep guy, you know, or like, oh, he does the bass house stuff too. Like, I want to kind of like venture a little bit more out of the realm, you know, or at least like kind of just, you know, make other things that I enjoy because I have like ideas galore of other genres. I just never put them out because it never fit like the mold. But I feel like a lot of artists are starting to branch out and not care anymore. And I think people are starting to like be cool with that. So it's like the perfect time to be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna make like an album with like 7 different genres, and hopefully people will like it.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else you want to include? Talk about?
Check out Need More Festival Horns if you haven't. Again, um, my album's turning 2 years old. I may be through with the past, but the past is not through with me. Please check that out. You can find me on all social media at Matphilly. Make sure you follow Traklife if you haven't, because they're pretty cool people. Um, and I'm just thankful to be here, man. You know, I shouldn't, but I'm thankful to be here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Caitlin Joy, and I'm here with Matphilly, EDM artist. Make sure to follow Traklife on all social media.